Um, Gian, the story you wove over the month of April was really interesting. And before I go any further, let me ask you to share on what this story was
Mhm.
and what you were going after.
Um, all right. So this is, well, everyone should be aware of the current state of the world. Trinidad is no different. We are under a lockdown. We have mandatory work from home orders. Um, Prior to that, we would have had a lot of community interactions, like simple things like push-up competitions, etc. Right? So, especially immediately before the work from home mandate, we had an ongoing push-up competition going. But, that happened smack in the middle of that. And the thing was, I thought that we were losing something by not being able to continue it. So that's where it actually started from. I want to see
So,
how. Hmm.
so Gian, just to jump in on that point to underscore that,
Hmm.
at Teleios, we had already started a drive, a physical activity drive, a drive around increasing our, our fitness activities.
Yes, for sure. We have, and it was through friendly rivalries and stuff, we were able to kind of push each other and drive that forward. It was good because it was very interactive. Um, but like I say, the thing was, this happened, the world happened in the middle of all of this, and there was a point of a few days where we were doing nothing, right? And that's because everybody was kind of getting used to the new normal. But a lot of people started to kind of, you know, lament the fact that they're not exercising, they don't have the drive and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to I want to make sure that we didn't lose that. So the first incarnation is even before this stuff this month. It started in May. And I would have continued the push-up competitions, but virtually, right? So that's where this was born from. It was very simple. It was people putting in their push-up counts in an Excel document, right? You see, there you go. You'd remember that. And we had Power BI that was being used to kind of display that. That was the new Office whiteboard that everybody could see everybody's push-up activities and stuff. And of course, Power BI allowed for a little bit more information than a whiteboard because you could have seen your highs and your lows, over time and that kind of stuff. So that was good. And it also had the side effect. The thing about having a physical whiteboard is that usually only people that were physically near it would use it. But by having it virtually, the Excel document, as simple as that, was something everyone in the company could have accessed. And the number of people that participated, went up from a small 10 to about a 16, right? And then people wanted more by the end of the month. So then that is when I had to take a step back and think about some new things, right?
So that 16 you mentioned, that's almost
Hmm.
half. That's a full third, yeah, a full third of the company.
Pretty
From the three
much.
or four who were doing it every day, like
Yes.
and noting on the whiteboard, it jumped into this
Yeah,
uh
it jumped
eight,
into.
16, 18 people doing
Mm,
it, right?
yep, yep,
Yeah.
very much so. And that was good. And like I said, so the thing was the technology allowed it to be as simple as it is, allowed it to be more accessible to more people. And the thing was, though, at the end of that month, and I think we managed to make a total of close to 9,000 push-ups in
Yeah,
total. Yeah,
buddy.
yeah, buddy, exactly. Especially on that last day, man, we're beasting out. So, um, but push-ups are fine, but one, they are kind of limited, and two, they're kind of limiting. Right. So they're limited in that they only work out so much. And that might not be everybody's focus. You have a lot of runners and Teleios and stuff. So, you might not be wanted to, like, beating out push ups might not be appealing to you. And same thing with, yes, the limiting, I wanted people to have more options, right? So I took the first weekend of April and I thought of how can I make this better? And well, the first problem is I'm not a dev by nature. I'm a database guy. So like it's easy. So I thought of what was needed on the back end to store, well, one, multiple exercises, that kind of stuff, multiple exercises, types, and all that, classifications and stuff. That was easy. But I didn't know how I was going to do the forms, as simple as that sounds to other people, right? Like, I'm sure I could have done it from
This is a
scratch. Just
judgment-free zone, Geon. We aren't here to judge your our
um,
app's forms.
there you go. So that's when, it occurred to me. It's like, right, I did this whole thing on Power Apps. I spoke about it at
Yeah,
Microsoft
that
Trinidad.
was that last year or this year?
That was actually early this year. Yeah,
Nice,
actually,
nice.
I think. But yeah. And then I was like, well, then why don't I use Power Apps, right? And then I started digging up into it. They have some simple built-in forms just for these kind of purposes. Like if you were to attach to a data source, it automatically populates a form based on the fields in the data source and stuff. So that's cool. I'm going to show that in, a Power Hour. Um, so
Nice.
that's, yeah. So that's where the rudimentary form came up, right? And it allowed me to do a lot more than the initial Excel document of just putting in push-up counts, right? And again, the numbers increased. So we went from approximately 15 to, about, I think, a 20, right? Which is nice, and that's again about half the company, right? And so, and again, with the fact that we had a wide range of exercises, people were doing more things. So you had, I know Keisha wasn't doing anything for a little while. Sorry, that's a coworker. So a coworker wasn't doing anything for a little while, and so I let her know that, you could record stuff like HIT, and aerobics and stuff on the form. So that opened up opportunities for her. And then she started doing that. People asked for specific exercises to be added, and I did. And then there was like a small version 2 of the app because I realized recording just numbers wasn't quite fair in comparing
Oh,
people's.
that's where that came from.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly,
This is
right.
the points per
The
different kinds
points.
of points for different activities.
Exactly. So then I sat down and till like a midnight some evening, and I actually thought about each exercise in relation to a push-up. All right, the push-up was the base, so push-up was always going to be a 1 point.
Your push-up was a basic unit of
Yeah, that was a
exercise.
basic unit. So then I was kind of thinking of every exercise in relation to a push-up. So, a squat might be like a 2 push-ups or something, or something might be 1.5. The exertion might be 1.5 of a push-up, kind
Very
of.
scientific, Gian.
Yep, very scientific, very gamerific,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And I also would have tested multiple exercises physically. Like I would have done like one of each kind of thing
Right,
just to see how it
right,
feels, right?
right.
Now that was tiring. And yeah, so then I implemented a point system. And that allowed people to kind of compare their activities as different as they were, in a lot more of a fair, equal way, right? And that was good. And then, of course, that increased some of the rivalry stuff, because now you could have runners competing against people doing push-ups, that kind of stuff, in a more easily tracked way, right?
So at
And
which point did you start this with a narrative in mind? Because I mean, everything you're sharing here relates to almost an essential response to a realization that we could be home with even less activity than before. We all work in fairly sedentary ways. We sit at a desk for long stretches.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started push-ups again this year, because it's not the first time we did push-ups,
No, nope, nope.
it was related to similar goals of breaking up the long stretches of
The
sedentary
monotony.
activity
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep, yep.
getting into physical fitness and physical activity. But
Yes.
at which point did the narrative structure, as it were, the narrative arcs that we saw begin? Was that at the start or?
All right. Definitely more so in April, May, in May, right? April was me just doing kind of a stopgap solution. It was kind of like a minor panic button to just continue the push-up activity, and not let people fall down this pit of, just inactivity, losing their drive to do things, and to to lose the community interaction, right? So that was April, but with May, I wanted to push that even further, and that's when I started crafting kind of stories around this. So then this is when the card system, right, would have started coming in. So what I started to do for listeners was after the first week, and people didn't, I don't think people knew I was going to do this. I think I just did it on the second Monday of the month, right? I was like, here's a bunch of highlights of people that would have done extraordinary things in the week before with regard to fitness, right? So I would have awarded the highest, like, push-up guy, like a card. So that was the thing. I'm a very big comic book buff, comic book nerd, right? Right. I know
No
that.
lies
No
detected.
lies detected whatsoever. And so that's what I know. So that's what I wove into it. So then the theme of the entire thing kind of became this whole superhero training activity, and everybody, was had the potential to be. Everybody is a hero. Everybody is a hero that participated in this. But like I said, they had the opportunity to get recognized for certain heights that people achieved, right? So you'd get your push-up champ cards, and you get a bunch of other things. Did you at this point wanted me to like share my screen on some of
Sure,
them?
that'd be
Or
cool. Let's take a look at
yeah.
what they are.
All right, let's do this thing. Doo doo. All right, tell me when you can see.
That's a lot of cards, Geon.
Yes, this is just the week 4 folder, so I made
Right.
a folder for each week for the different people for each week. And yeah, you'd have stuff like your Amazon or Rubik's. There we go. So we had a lady named Roxanne. She completely dominated this throughout. She just did aerobics, 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 aerobics right through. So
Right.
this was like her award, right? You'd have some of my favorites were the Gone in a Flash. So this was for the runners and the cyclists, right?
Right.
And distances they were able to complete over time. And again, this would be people just either running around the empty neighborhood or running on a treadmill, or people just cycling on stationary bikes. So that was the thing. You got people that used to do that stuff on the outside starting to find ways to do things they used to do on the inside, right? So there you go. This person ran for 110 minutes for this week.
So,
Then
Geon, if
hmm
I just to, I realize that applies to you as well because, as you said, you're a comic books fan,
hmm
and it may be that your supply of comic books slightly dwindled over the
Oh, it very
previous
much
period.
it very much dwindled because there's actually a shutdown right now because of the current state of the world. So no new
Right.
books are being produced. I think they're starting back in June or July, hopefully.
Right.
So yeah, yep.
So you have it's really interesting because there may be even a paucity of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Access to comics are less.
Right.
And
Yep.
what I see here is not just that you were finding ways to celebrate people's innovative ways of staying active,
Mm-hmm.
but you were also finding ways to keep your own storytelling appetite in check by creating your own stories.
For sure. As you would also know too, I would have delved in Dungeons and Dragons last year, right? So that was the
Yes,
first time for a number of people. And well, even before that, I dabbled in a little bit of stop motion animation stuff, which I really need to get back into. But what got me back into stuff like storytelling and stuff, which I realized I really like to do, world creation and whatnot, is stuff like the Dungeons and Dragons. So I looked into my inner dungeon master,
right.
and and I would have, created these little cards with little punny names like, Hitman for hit and whatnot. And when I was giving them out, I would have. Where is this mouse, right? I would have little tidbits, like I say, a little crafting of a narrative. So for the people
Right.
that got the highest overall points, I crafted this whole thing of being worthy enough to lift Thor's hammer, because, as you know, it's part of the inscription. Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Not
Yes.
just anybody could pick it up, So stuff like that, I would have delved into, who's
Right.
strong enough, whoever, who's worthy, and bada bing, bada boom, give their give the people their special cards and whatnot. Right. So it was reminiscent of some of the stuff I would have done with Dungeons and Dragons, and prior to that, the little stop motion animations I did.
Right.
So. Mm-hmm.
You know what jumps out at me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that people really grabbed onto the cards. Like we use Teams to
Mm-hmm.
share, but you use Teams to distribute this information. I was just a happy bystander.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you see there are a bunch of requests saying, okay, when can I get my card?
Right.
Or just a lot of celebration that Peter won this particular card, and Peter jumped in saying, "Yeah, there I am."
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real you see that positive feedback of uh, by creating a data-rich environment on physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
It changed buckets, as it were. So people could have fallen into a pit of inactivity and the possible feelings of that. And
Right.
instead, you created a data pit that was attractive, that people
Mm-hmm.
could have fallen into around being active and seeing a number up on a board. Then it led into recognition in the form of who had the highest of this and highest of that, and there was a number of activities. So it spread the playing field, made things flat. You were able to tell stories, and people were able to get cards, able to receive recognition, and it
Mm-hmm.
looks like there was more of that coming. Would you say that?
I would definitely say that, but I'm scared that I am going to bite off more than I could chew, because
Right.
I have a particularly kind of, so everything just keeps building on the past thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
the simple push-up thing, and then that was the foundation for the fitness app, which actually could just take a little peek at. Let's see if that's still active. Yeah, and that went from Excel document to the simple. I have way too many tabs. Ignore that. But
Right.
that went to the simple form that people have used. Blah blah blah. And
Actually, I
then
have an idea of where you're going to go. I'm going to hold it in my mind and see if what you present
uh,
goes here. Let's see.
well, I don't, like I say, I don't know if we'll see if we're on the same wavelength. But
Right.
like I say, so then to further add to this, I don't actually want to say too much yet, but
Yes.
I do want to take this weekend to overhaul the app once again. So it seems to be like every month I'm slowly just building onto this thing. And yeah, I want to build out this thing a little bit even more. But I apologize. I don't want to say what I want to do
Fine, that's fine,
just
Geon.
right.
I'll
Yep.
say it. I'll say it,
Uh-huh.
Geon. You're
Mhm.
gonna make a hero's journey. You're gonna talk about someone who started off as a hitmaster who became a
Mm.
gun in a flash, and vice versa.
Advice based. Okay. We'll see if you're correct.
Very cool. Nevertheless, Gian,
Mhm.
commendations. You I think played a key role in helping the whole company to move and be excited about it. Looking forward to see how we all respond. This global quarantine, at some point, I understand more than 50% of the planet was under quarantine, has created an interesting scenario for development for the planet. And I think what you did contributes to how to think about this time. It's not just gloom and doom, it's opportunities for fresh stories to come out. So
Exactly.
looking forward to what else comes, Gian.
Mhm. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Cheers.
Yep. Take care. Mm.